Good evening. I've been given the privilege of speaking in remembrance of one of my favorite people, Henry-McLean. And although I have said it is a privilege, it is also very difficult for me to decide where to start. There's so much that could be said because Henry did so much. Tonight, though, it is Henry, the historian, that I want to remember. Henry loved history, and he loved doing research to find out what the history was, which is a very happy fact, because he was descended from so many people who shaped our local history. After all, his ancestors were the planners and the builders and the investors in the Falls Bridge, which we now know as Chain Bridge. They also followed up that with building the Georgetown Bank. They owned a large piece of Langley, and they owned properties in Georgetown. They also had family in Southern Maryland, which is an area that I do not have an expertise in, so I can't tell you about that. The ones that lived here served in the United States Army and also in the Confederate forces. His genealogy work on his own family went far beyond that. His secretary, June, once remarked that he was trying to take the line back to Adam and Eve. Henry lived in what is now the oldest house in McLean, the Thomas Lewis House. It was built about 1730. It was his pride and joy, and he was so happy to be able to preserve this outstanding landmark. Throughout his lifetime, he belonged to more than 20 different societies dedicated to the discovery, celebration, and preservation of history. He didn't just attend the meetings for fun or entertainment. He put his shoulder to the wheel, and he often served as an officer or a board member. He worked hard to support the organizations and to accomplish their purpose. His own historical research was impeccable. With his lawyer's mind, he left no stones unturned to make sure that he had all of the facts and that they were correct and presented in the correct context. No shortcuts or assumptions for him. Among his writings were an article titled John Henry Chichester of Mantua, published with the Historical Society of Fairfax County in their yearbook of 2006. John Chichester was one of his relatives. In 2007, his work, Robert Gunnell of Langley, was published in the Fairfax County Stories 1607 to 2007. Robert Gunnell had been a former slave associated with his family. On a personal level, I have many fond memories of working on research projects with Henry. I first met Henry almost 30 years ago when I was working on a genealogy of a prominent Fairfax family, which was one of the first to settle in the Upper Potomac region. And of course, it's not going to surprise most of the audience to find out that Henry was related to them. In the next few years, I came to know that when you research old families in this area, it's almost impossible to find one that Mangles are not related to. Henry became my mentor. I spent many happy hours in debate and conference with him over the times, people, events that shaped the past. And in his gentlemanly style, he always encouraged me to investigate more and to be able to really substantiate anything that I'm going to present as fact. He taught me a lot. Just when I would think I had everything neatly lined up as to who was who or what happened or whose home we were really looking at, he'd say to me in his quiet way, "Karen, how do you know?" I'd present my facts, and he, with his lawyerly mind, would send me out to find some more. Just when I think I had plumbed the depths of the subject, he would say, "It's a good start." The good news about that was that many times he would send me some absolutely fascinating document that he would have gone down and dug out of his own personal archives, which were extensive, that had family papers, legal papers from generations past, and he was always very generous with them. Henry was the epitome of the Virginia gentleman. He embodied good manners and a very thought-provoking wit. Sometimes I'd argue with him that all signs of the research pointed to such and such happening, and that it was logical. And that's when he taught me to use one of my most favorite caveats, quote, "It appears that," unquote. Even so, even with the caveat, he would still insist that all of my resources pass his test, and we had to keep on searching. When I would put forth a prognosis of what I thought what we were going to find that really happened in a certain event, he would say, again in his quiet way, "Well, we'll see." Among the many history-related legacies that he left to us is his last research project, a book that he was editing titled "For My Children." This is a particular significant work from his personal archive, which his great-grandmother, Aminta Elizabeth Douglas Sorrell Makel, began writing over 100 years ago. It's based on the letters written to her by her husband, General William Juan Makel, during his U.S. military career, while he was serving in New England, Florida, Mexico, and California, and then during his Confederate services. For My Children will be released in time for the Civil War sesquicentennial in 2011. Henry spent a lifetime sorting through the clues of history and was dedicated to the belief that people, events, and places from times past should not be forgotten. Not just the big names, but also the regular people. He believed that they all played an important part. I, for one, will never forget Henry. There will always be times when I hear his voice in the back of my mind asking, "How do you know this?" I'm also sure that he will be remembered by many people for all of his work related to the discovery and preservation of our local